Remember when one blended family became an unlikely American institution? From 1969 to 1974, the Brady Bunch sold us wholesome lessons and problems that magically disappeared after 22 minutes in a group hug. It was perfection, or at least that's what it looked like on screen. Today, we're counting down 15 weird and wonderful facts about the Brady Bunch. We're talking missing toilets, secret teen romances, and a cast member who couldn't stand the show. And trust us, you are not ready for what's near the top of this list. So, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with a friend who loves pork chops and applesauce. Now, let's get into the countdown with number 15. The whole show started with a newspaper statistic. The Brady Bunch, one of the most recognized TV families of all time, exists because Sherwood Schwartz was flipping through the LA Times and stumbled across a statistic in a short filler article. No brainstorming session, no big pitch meeting, just a tiny blurb buried somewhere between the Metro section and the classifieds. The statistic read, around 30% of marriages in America involved at least one person who already had children from a previous marriage. Schwartz read that number and saw a sitcom. Blended families were everywhere in real life, but nowhere on TV. At the time, network shows were still clinging to the nuclear family model. 2 parents, their biological kids, and maybe a dog. It was clean, simple, and traditional, but nearly a third of American marriages didn't fit that mold. Schwartz realized nobody was telling those stories. What happens when 2 families, already formed and already complicated, try to become one? What do you do with 6 kids who didn't grow up together suddenly sharing bathrooms, dinner tables, and sibling rivalries? He registered the idea with the Writers Guild in 1965 under the title Yours and Mine, and then nothing. The networks passed because it was too risky, too unconventional, and nobody wanted to touch it. That changed in 1968 when the film Yours, Mine, and Ours, starring Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda, became a box office hit. Suddenly, a blended family comedy didn't seem so risky anymore. ABC came calling, and Schwartz's script finally had a home. Number 14, the bathroom with no toilet. The Brady kids' bathroom, you saw it all the time. There was teeth being brushed, hair being combed, life lessons delivered in front of that mirror like it was a therapist's couch, but if you actually stop and look, something's missing. There's no toilet, no bowl or tank, not even a lonely roll of toilet paper, and no, that wasn't an accident. In the late 60s and early 70s, ABC's Standards and Practices decided that showing a toilet on primetime television was just a little too scandalous for American families. Yeah, sleeping in the same bed was totally fine, and taking a bath, sure, but admitting that humans occasionally have to go number 2? Absolutely not. Here's what makes it even funnier though. The Bradys weren't even pushing boundaries. Leave It to Beaver snuck a toilet tank onto TV all the way back in 1957, and in 1971, All in the Family shattered sitcom history by airing the first audible toilet flush. Meanwhile, over at the Brady house, nothing. Just a spotless, fully functioning looking bathroom where no one ever had to go. That mystery lasted decades. It wasn't until HGTV's A Very Brady renovation in 2019, more than 50 years after the show premiered, that a real toilet was finally installed. So yeah, the most unrealistic part of the Brady Bunch wasn't 6 kids getting along, it was a bathroom that never needed a toilet. Number 13, Cousin Oliver became TV's most famous cautionary tale. By season 5, the Brady Bunch had a problem. The kids weren't very little anymore. The charm was fading and the ratings were sliding. So the producers made a strategic gamble. They added another kid. Cousin Oliver, played by Robbie Rist. Oliver was Carol's nephew, shipped off to live with the Bradys while his parents went digging up ruins in South America. You know, a totally normal custody arrangement. And this wasn't some throwaway guest spot either. Producers were actively planning a 6th season, and Oliver was supposed to be a permanent addition to the cast. According to Lloyd Schwartz, Sherwood Schwartz's son and a producer on the show, Oliver was meant to stick around for the long haul. But the Brady Bunch was built on symmetry, 3 boys, 3 girls. Wedging a 7th kid into that perfect equation didn't feel like a creative choice, it felt like a distress signal. Oliver appeared in just 6 episodes and the show was canceled shortly after. And because his debut and the cancellation happened so close together, Oliver's name became permanently attached to the move. TV insiders started calling it Cousin Oliver Syndrome, the moment a show adds a random kid as a last-ditch effort to stay relevant. There is a bit of irony to this though. Robbie Rist landed on his feet. He voiced Michelangelo in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, played Ted Baxter's adopted son on The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and went on to voice roles in Doc McStuffins, Naruto, and Balto. Oh, and he co-wrote the theme song for the Sharknado franchise. So, the kid everyone blamed for sinking the Brady Bunch literally made a career writing music about things getting destroyed by a shark tornado. Today, he runs a recording studio in Florida and is still making music, but those 6 Brady episodes? They made Cousin Oliver television's most famous last-ditch effort, fair or non. Number 12, Bobby was blonde and Cindy wasn't blonde enough. Bobby Brady, the youngest brother with that signature dark mop of hair, turns out that wasn't real. Mike Lookinland was a natural strawberry blonde with wavy hair, but creator Sherwood Schwartz wanted the Brady kids to actually look related to their biological parents, and Schwartz wasn't leaving anything to chance. He originally had 2 full sets of kids on standby, 12 children total, 3 blonde and 3 brunette for each gender, so the children could match whichever parents were eventually cast. Lookinland was his top choice for Bobby, but once Robert Reed was locked in, those strawberry blonde waves had to go. The solution was a temporary jet black rinse, which meant every single morning, Lookinland sat in a makeup chair to have his hair darkened and straightened before filming, and under those blazing studio lights, there was just one problem: sweat. More than once, black dye literally ran down his forehead in the middle of scenes. By season 4, the show finally eased up. Lookinland's hair had naturally darkened a bit as he got older, so they let him go without the daily dye job. And Bobby wasn't the only one getting the chemical treatment either. Susan Olsen was naturally blonde, just not blonde enough. So every 3 weeks, her hair was bleached to hit that platinum Cindy look. By season 2, the damage caught up with her. Her hair got so brittle it started falling out in clumps. Eventually, a tearful Olsen complained to the producers, and Sherwood Schwartz himself stepped in and ordered the staff to stop the aggressive bleaching. That's why you see Cindy's hair shift through different shades of blonde from episode to episode in season 3. Unfortunately, the real damage was already done. The chemicals had permanently straightened her naturally wavy hair, making it impossible to hold a curl on its own. To keep those signature Cindy ringlets, Olsen had to sleep in rollers every single night, a job her mom handled. So yeah, the Bradys may have looked like the perfect family, but it took a lot of chemicals to get there. Number 11, Carol Brady's perfect hair was a lie. Carol Brady's hair, it was always perfect, never frizzy, and never out of place, no matter how many kids were running through the house. It stayed camera ready at all times. That's because in season 1, it wasn't real. Before the Brady Bunch started filming, Florence Henderson had a very short pixie cut, but once she stepped onto the Paramount lot, Sherwood Schwartz had concerns. He felt the short hair wasn't feminine enough for a suburban TV mom, so they did what television does best. They put her in a wig. Henderson called it the bubble wig, a blonde bouffant-style hairpiece designed to look flawless under hot studio lights, and if you go back and watch those early episodes, you can see it. The hair has an almost uncanny consistency, perfectly shaped, perfectly still, and frozen in suburban perfection. The wig also solved a practical problem: continuity. There was no bad hair days, no mismatched reshoots. Carol Brady's hair looked exactly the same from episode to episode because it literally was. Now, here's a fun fact though. Henderson's real hair actually makes an appearance in the season 1 episode The Voice of Christmas. But because episodes weren't filmed in order, the bubble wig pops back up in later episodes of that same season. By season 2, her natural hair had grown out enough to retire the wig for good. Number 10, Gene Hackman was almost Mike Brady. Mike Brady, the calm, cardigan-wearing dad who could solve any problem with a gentle talk and a reassuring smile. Yeah, that almost wasn't him. Before Robert Reed stepped into the role, creator Sherwood Schwartz had a very different dad in mind: Gene Hackman. In 1969, Hackman was primarily a Broadway actor with a handful of TV guest spots and 1 Oscar nomination under his belt for Bonnie and Clyde. Schwartz saw potential, grit, intensity, the kind of actor who could turn a lecture about cleaning your room into something that felt like a hostage negotiation, but Paramount and ABC shut it down immediately. The reason was that Hackman had a low TVQ, an industry metric used to measure an actor's familiarity with television audiences. Basically, there weren't enough people who knew who he was. The network wanted a safer bet, someone who was already proven on TV. So they went with Robert Reed, who was already under contract with Paramount and well known for his role on the legal drama The Defenders. Just 2 years later, Hackman starred in The French Connection and won the Academy Award for Best Actor. The guy the studio thought lacked star power became one of the biggest actors of his generation, but honestly, Hackman might have broken the whole show. Picture him just for a second with the Brady kids. Greg forgets his homework and suddenly it's a shakedown. If Peter breaks a vase, Hackman's gonna stare him down and like he owes him money. The Brady magic was built on warmth, comfort, safety. That's what Robert Reed brought. So thank those cautious studio executives. Their safe choice gave us the Mike Brady we remember and saved America from the most intimidating sitcom dad in television history. Number 9, the family dog died and was quietly erased. Does anybody remember Tiger, the Brady family dog? He wasn't just background scenery. In the pilot episode, Tiger was the star of the chaos. During Mike and Carol's backyard wedding, he escaped from the car, spotted the girl's cat Fluffy, and chased her straight through the ceremony, across the laps of formally dressed guests, through the reception. Fluffy, by the way, was never seen again after that episode, but Tiger stuck around for a while. During the filming of the 5th episode, something tragic happened. The original Tiger escaped from his trainer during exercise on the Paramount lot. He was hit by a vehicle, some say a florist truck, but others say a delivery truck. Regardless, he unfortunately didn't survive. The trainer panicked, and wanting to keep his job, he grabbed a lookalike from a local pound and brought it to the set without telling anyone. It didn't go well. Tiger number 2 had zero training. He wouldn't hit his marks, ignored commands, and kept bolting off set mid-scene. Finally, the trainer confessed. The real Tiger was dead. But they were already mid-episode and the cameras were rolling. Time was money. So the crew made a call. In a scene where the dog needed to stay still, they nailed his collar to the floor just to keep him from running off. And it only gets worse from there. A total of 3 or 4 replacement dogs were cycled through, and some of them were unpredictable and even aggressive toward the cast. By season 2, the producers had enough. Tiger's final appearance was in the episode What Goes Up, and after that, he was gone. There was no goodbye, no explanation, but here's the weird part. Tiger's doghouse stayed. For the rest of the series, it sat in the Brady backyard just empty. It wasn't for sentimental reasons. Early in production, a studio light had fallen and burned a hole in the AstroTurf lawn. The doghouse was covering the damage. So the dog may have been gone, but the evidence of his existence, well, that stuck around for 5 seasons. Number 8, Cindy's lisp was real. Cindy Brady's lisp, that unmistakable way she said her S's and Z's, that wasn't a character choice or a cute affectation cooked up by the writers. That was Susan Olsen, the real Susan Olsen. She was 7 when she got the part, and the lisp was a genuine speech impediment caused by a tongue slightly too large for her mouth, plus some oral surgery she'd had as a kid. The show didn't create it, they just filmed it. And audiences loved it. Cindy's lisp became as recognizable as her curls and her habit of tattling on everyone within a 10-foot radius. But here's the part that wasn't so adorable. At school, Olsen got teased mercilessly for it. And whenever the writers decided to spotlight the lisp, like in the season 2 episode A Fistful of Reasons, it basically handed her classmates fresh material to use against her the next morning. Thanks, writers. The lisp wasn't even the only ammunition. Kids mocked her for Cindy being a tattletale. They mocked her for that Shirley Temple impression in season 5 that she still cringes about. On TV, she was America's sweetheart, but at school, she was target practice. After the show, Olsen took speech therapy at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts to work on it. She's joked about the whole thing in interviews over the years, but as recently as 2025, she's admitted she's still very self-conscious about it. Some things from childhood stick with you, even when millions of people thought they were cute. Okay, we gotta take a quick pause because if you're enjoying these Brady Bunch secrets, do us a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe. And while you're down there, let us know who your favorite Brady Bunch character is in the comments. Alright, let's get back to the countdown with number 7. Alice was already a star. Alice Nelson, the Brady family housekeeper, the one who kept the chaos from boiling over, cracked jokes while doing dishes, and somehow made a maid's uniform look like the outfit of the most essential person in the house. In the famous opening credits grid, Alice is the only one who occupies the center square. Not Mike, not Carol, not any of the kids, Alice. Barry Williams later called her the glue that held the Brady Bunch together, but here's the thing. Ann B. Davis wasn't some unknown actress who had lucked into a breakout role. She was already a star. Before the Brady Bunch ever aired, Davis had won 2 Emmy Awards for her role as Schultzy, the sharp-witted secretary on the Bob Cummins Show. She won in 1958 and again in 1959, 4 nominations total. And in 1960, she got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So when Sherwood Schwartz cast her as Alice, he wasn't taking a chance. He was hiring a proven award-winning pro, and here's something wild. Ann B. Davis wanted to be a doctor. She enrolled at the University of Michigan as a pre-med major, inspired by the female physician who had delivered her and her twin sister. She had her future mapped out until she saw her older brother perform in a touring production of Oklahoma, and she caught the acting bug. But here's a detail most Brady Bunch fans don't know. Davis created a secret backstory for Alice, one that was never mentioned on the show. In her mind, Alice became a housekeeper to earn money so her twin sister could afford medical school. She took her own abandoned dream and gave it to a fictional sibling. Despite being the comedic heart and fan favorite of the Brady household, Ann B. Davis was never nominated for a single Emmy for playing Alice. 2 wins for Schwartz, but 0 for Alice. But Davis didn't stick around Hollywood to fight for recognition. In 1976, she sold her Los Angeles home and moved to Denver to join an Episcopal community led by Bishop William C. Fry. She lived in shared housing with other church members, volunteered at homeless shelters, and followed the community as it relocated, first to Pennsylvania, then to San Antonio, where she spent the rest of her life. She was done with the Hollywood grind. She still showed up for every Brady reunion though, and even appeared in the 1995 Brady Bunch movie as a truck driver named, guess what, Schwartz. Some roles just follow you forever. Number 6, Florence Henderson made television history. Carol Brady was America's perfect TV mom. She was warm, supportive, and always ready with a smile, a casserole, and a life lesson. But Florence Henderson, she had nearly 20 years of work under her belt before she ever stepped into that split-level house. Henderson started performing professionally at 18. By the mid-1950s, she was a Broadway star, handpicked by Richard Rodgers himself to play Laurie in the national tour of Oklahoma. She headlined Fanny for over 800 performances. She toured as Maria in The Sound of Music. This wasn't someone looking for her big break, she'd already had several. And she was making moves on television that women simply weren't making yet. From 1959 to 1960, Henderson worked as a Today girl on NBC's The Today Show, delivering weather and light news. Then, in 1962, she became the first woman to guest host The Tonight Show, stepping behind the desk during the transition between Jack Paar and Johnny Carson. In the early 60s, women on late-night TV were guests. Singers, actresses sitting politely in the chair next to the host. They didn't run the show, but Henderson did. So when Sherwood Schwartz came calling in 1969, he wasn't discovering some unknown talent. He was hiring a Broadway veteran and television trailblazer who'd hosted The Tonight Show before Johnny Carson even got there. Here's the irony. For 5 seasons, Henderson played a stay-at-home mom whose biggest challenges were sibling squabbles and which kid needed a pep talk next. Throughout the original run, she pushed producers to let Carol get a job. They said no every time. The network wanted the perfect stay-at-home mother. So Carol Brady did needlepoint, helped with PTA fundraisers, and assisted Alice in the kitchen, while Florence Henderson flew to New York on weekends to do talk shows, variety programs, and game shows. When the reunion specials came around years later, Henderson finally made it a condition of her return. Carol gets a job. So they made her a real estate agent. Her career showed up in The Brady Brides in 1981 and again in A Very Brady Christmas in 1988. By the time The Bradys aired in 1990, Carol had evolved even further. She was running for state Congress. It only took about 15 years, but Florence Henderson eventually got Carol Brady out of the house. Number 5, Marsha was only said once. There's one line every Gen X kid can quote on command. It feels like Jan said it every other episode. She didn't. In the entire 5-season run of the Brady Bunch, Jan Brady says that line exactly once. One episode. Season 3, Her Sister Shadow, November 1971. Jan is fed up, tired of being compared to her perfect older sister, and tired of living in Marsha's shadow. She finally snaps and blurts out 3 words in one frustrated outburst. And that's it. When it aired, it barely registered. The episode played, got a few laughs, and moved on like any other Brady story. The legend came later. Years of reruns gave the line new life. Then SNL parodied it, comedy writers kept referencing it, and when the Brady Bunch movie hit theaters in 1995, they leaned all the way in, turning Jan's single moment of frustration into a full-blown joke. That's when it exploded. Eve Plumb, who played Jan, has said the line didn't go viral at the time. its fame was built slowly over decades of reruns, references, and affectionate mockery. One line, one episode, and one middle child at her breaking point. And somehow it became the most quoted moment in Brady Bunch history. Number 4, Robert Reed hated the show. Mike Brady was the gold standard of TV fatherhood. He was calm, patient, and always ready with a gentle lecture and a reassuring smile, but Robert Reed, not so much. He thought the Brady Bunch was beneath him, and he wasn't shy about saying so. Reed was classically trained at London's Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. He'd already earned serious acclaim on the gritty legal drama The Defenders, and when he signed with Paramount in 1968, it wasn't for this. He was supposed to star in a TV adaptation of Barefoot in the Park, but when the studio decided to go a different direction with the project, they handed Reed a consolation prize, The Brady Bunch. He took the role for stability, a steady paycheck, but from day one, he felt trapped. And there was another layer to his frustration that nobody talked about at the time. Reed was a closeted gay man, playing America's ideal father, the image of wholesome heterosexual family life 5 days a week on a soundstage. Sherwood Schwartz would later say he sympathized with the pressure Reed was under. Florence Henderson noticed early on that Reed seemed uncomfortable in their romantic scenes. He eventually confided in her and they worked around it, rehearsing kisses off camera so they'd look natural when it came time to film. As the show leaned harder into goofy storylines, Reed pushed back constantly, sending lengthy, handwritten memos to Schwartz picking apart every plot hole and logical flaw. He believed the show could be smarter, more grounded, and more realistic. By the end, the producers were exhausted. The writers had stopped reading his memos. Then came what turned out to be the last episode, though nobody knew it at the time. In the harebrained scheme, Bobby tries to make money selling a homemade hair formula. Greg uses it the night before his high school graduation and wakes up with bright orange hair. Cue sitcom chaos. Robert Reed was not amused. He fired off another memo, arguing that hair tonic couldn't possibly turn someone's hair orange. Schwartz did a fact check and found cases where it actually could and refused to change the script. So Reed made a decision. He told the producers he wouldn't appear in the episode, but here's the strange part, he still showed up on set. He watched the entire episode being filmed, and when Schwartz asked why he was there, Reed said the Brady Bunch was his show and he wanted to see what was happening on it. There was talk of having security escort him off, but Schwartz didn't want to traumatize the kids, so Reed just stayed, watching and refusing to participate, making everyone uncomfortable. The production awkwardly worked around him, and Mike Brady was suddenly out of town for his own son's graduation. His lines went to Carol instead. Reed figured he'd made his point, he'd be back for season 6. But then ABC canceled the show, and yet, despite everything, Robert Reed came back for every reunion, every spinoff, every chance to play Mike Brady again. He hated the scripts, he fought the producers, and he walked out of what turned out to be the finale, but he never really walked away. Number 3, the Brady Bunch Variety Hour was a beautiful disaster. 2 years after the Brady Bunch ended, ABC had an idea. What if the Bradys sang and danced? In 1976, the network launched the Brady Bunch Variety Hour, a spin-off so bizarre it made the original show look like prestige television. The premise was that the fictional Brady family gives up their quiet suburban life, moves to a beachside home in Southern California, and stars in their own variety show. Mike Brady abandons architecture, Carol trades carpool duty for choreography, and everyone wears way too many sequined outfits. Each episode balanced elaborate stage performances with scripted backstage segments at their new home. Sitcom-style bickering mixed with song and dance numbers. Guest stars ranged from Vincent Price to Farrah Fawcett to Charo. And then there were the Croftettes, a synchronized swimming troupe performing in a 50,000-gallon on-stage pool. The whole original cast came back. Well, almost the whole cast. Eve Plumb, the original Jan, she said, "Hell no, to the no, 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 yeah, to the no." Sort of. She actually agreed to appear in 5 episodes, but the network demanded all or nothing. Sign on for 13 episodes with a possible 5-year option, or don't come back at all. Plumb walked. So producers auditioned over 1,500 actresses, and just one day before rehearsals began, cast Jerry Reichel as the new Jan. Fans immediately dubbed her Fake Jan. She's embraced it ever since. But here's the twist nobody expected. Robert Reed loved it. The same guy who had walked off the set for the last original episode of the Brady Bunch, he was thrilled to do the variety show. Barry Williams later said the show was incredibly bad, but even more incredible was the fact that Reed genuinely enjoyed being on it. Reed admitted he was terrible at singing and dancing, but he didn't care. He thought the whole thing sounded like a hoot. Florence Henderson felt differently though. She later compared the Variety Hour to going from the penthouse to the basement. Behind the scenes, things got messy. Henderson, with her Broadway background, clashed with cast members she felt weren't taking it seriously enough, and McCormick's behavior grew increasingly erratic. She later admitted she was struggling with addiction at the time. After 9 episodes, ABC pulled the plug. Some TV experiments failed quietly. The Brady Bunch Variety Hour failed loud, in sequence, while a swimming troupe did backflips in a pool on stage. And somehow Robert Reed was having the time of his life. Number 2, Greg and Marcia had a real-life romance. Greg and Marcia Brady, TV's most wholesome brother and sister. Perfect smiles, perfect hair, absolutely nothing weird going on there, right? Well, it turns out there was. It sounds like sitcom folklore, but it's completely true. Barry Williams and Maureen McCormick had a real-life teenage romance while filming The Brady Bunch. Williams has talked about it openly over the years. He described it as on again, off again. Not some big formal relationship, but definitely more than just a crush. For 2 teenagers, it was totally normal. For 2 teenagers who were playing brother and sister on network television, it's a little bit more complicated. On camera, they were the picture of wholesome sibling energy. Off camera, they were navigating some real feelings. The producers noticed. Lloyd Schwartz later said he realized there was a little too much attraction between brother and sister during the filming of one episode. Williams even admitted he made a point to show up on set whenever McCormick had to film romantic scenes with other actors just to, in his words, have a presence. Eventually, the romance faded, but here's the thing, it wasn't just Greg and Marcia. According to Williams, the whole cast paired off at various points. Bobby and Cindy, Peter and Jan. In a January 2026 interview, Williams compared the Brady set to Love Island. You look around and you take in the environment and you start chatting and suddenly things are happening. And when the Brady Bunch movie hit theaters in 1995, the filmmakers leaned all the way in, turning that long whispered about Greg and Marcia tension into a running joke. Turns out the most wholesome family on television was basically a dating show at the time. Number 1, the Brady house was a beautiful lie that became real. Yes, the Brady house. The most familiar home in America where 6 kids, 2 parents, and 1 invisible toilet somehow made perfect sense. But there was just one problem. None of it could actually exist. That famous exterior was real. It was a modest split level in Studio City, California, but the inside? That was pure television magic. The interiors were shot on a soundstage at Paramount with no ceilings, barely there walls, and a layout that could never, ever fit inside that little house. That gorgeous floating staircase was built for camera angles, not for foot traffic. And Greg's attic bedroom? Take a look at the real house. It's a low roofline with no headroom and no windows. There's definitely no room for a bachelor pad. On the soundstage, designers faked everything with angled walls. For decades, that illusion held. Then, in 2018, the house went up for sale for the first time in 45 years. A full-on bidding war erupted. Lance Bass jumped in, but in the end, HGTV won, paying $3.5 million, nearly double the asking price, to make a very Brady renovation a reality. There was just one problem. The TV house had 2 stories. The real house had 1. So HGTV didn't redecorate, they rebuilt the impossible. The structure was expanded upward and backward, carefully hidden behind the original facade so the street view stayed the same. Designers hunted down screen-accurate details like every lamp, every floral couch, every avocado green appliance. They recreated the fake turf backyard and rebuilt the bathroom. When the surviving Brady kids stepped inside for the first time, they were in tears, laughter, disbelief, because for 5 seasons, they'd worked on a set with missing walls and open ceilings, but now they were standing in a fully real version of a home that had only ever been an illusion. The series became HGTV's highest rated limited renovation event ever. And then they tried to sell it. In 2023, HGTV listed the house for $5.5 million. It sat on the market for months. The final sale price? $3.2 million, less than they paid for it in the first place. The total investment was around $5.4 million, which is a net loss of over $2 million. So, what went wrong? Well, it turns out the house was too perfect. Many of the appliances are decorative props designed to look like the 1970s set, not actually functioning. Zoning laws prevent it from becoming a museum or an Airbnb. The new owner, Tina Trahan, called it a life-size dollhouse and the worst investment ever. She also said nobody is going to live in it. No one is going in there to make pork chops and applesauce in that kitchen. So what do you do with a house nobody can live in? You throw parties. Trahan now uses the property for charity events and fundraisers. In 2025, she launched the Brady Experience, a sweepstakes where fans can tour the house and have brunch with original cast members. The house that was fake became real, then became unlivable, and now exists as a place where strangers eat eggs with TV stars from the 70s. And there you have it, 15 wild and wonderful facts about the Brady Bunch. Which facts surprised you the most, and which ones did we miss? Drop it in the comments because we always love hearing from you, and if you want more deep dives into the shows you grew up with, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stick around. We've got plenty more where this came from. And until next time, this is Remember When.